Good evening, good evening. Um, we're getting to, well, no, we're not getting to the end of the year. We're actually at the end of the year. And now we're getting ready to start a new one. So before we get to actually start this year, some of the most successful men on the planet or the wisest of people, they always say, I think my favorite line when it comes to this whole thing of planning is what Jim Rohn once said. He's like, you start the year when you have it finished. Sounds a bit weird at first, but when you think of it, like when you're building a house, first you need to have the plans of the house. Like the whole drawing with the structure and everything. And you can only start building the house once you have it finished on the paper. So once the plans are finished, then you can start the house. Everything else in life is pretty much the same. So with your year, you want to have it planned, and those plans, once you finish those plans, then you can get your year started. One of the biggest reasons why a lot of people struggle to actually get what they want in like say this whole year has passed, and a lot of us had lists of things we wanted to achieve, and some have done a whole lot from that list. Others pretty much not started comparatively. And if you look into it, like you look at what the problem is with the people who have actually not been able to accomplish a lot of the goals that they want to accomplish, some haven't managed to accomplish any, you will probably find that they didn't have a plan. So essentially, they never finished the year in terms of planning, and so the year just never got started. For the whole of the 12 months, they were pretty much just going with the waves, drifting. And one of the my favorite line when it comes to that, which is essentially discourages the whole idea of living life on as a drifter, basically goes, you can't drift your way to the top of the mountain. So something you probably want to keep, like if you want, essentially the top of the mountain is the success, obviously. So first thing you need to understand is that to get to the top of the mountain is a deliberate act. Like you have to make the decision and then actually act on that decision. And the only way to get there according to that plan that you've decided on is to basically not get sidetracked, because then you could probably like just end up walking around and around and around the mountain without ever getting to the top if you're not clear on where you should be going. And so it brings me to a point that I would like everybody else to pay some close attention to, just as I was made to realize it over the past recent years, specifically. Setting goals is the most critical part of succeeding in anything. It's pretty much the equivalent of having a destination for a trip. Because if you go on a trip and you don't have a destination, then when do you know when you've arrived? You could travel for 100 meters and you reach the destination, or you could travel 100 kilometers. You still reach the destination because you never really had that destination set. But the question is now, if you're moving around with that kind of attitude, like with no direction of where you're going, when do you know how far you've come and how far you are yet to go? You know, if you need to change your plans. If you come across an obstacle, you stop there and decide that, okay, now I've arrived, because, well, never had a specific place to reach anyway. But if you actually have a goal set, like a destination, that, okay, this is where I want to be, it's only then that you can start deciding on things like, when do I want to get there, how do I want to get there, and all of that other stuff. And so the one thing that I'm going to urge everyone to do is, for this coming year, I don't know if it's something you're already into, or if you've never done it. If you haven't done it, then there are a lot of people out there who are willing to help. I know a few, so you can get in touch. But have a set of goals that you want to achieve by the end of next year. And obviously, I'm pretty sure everybody from childhood, we've always had this one thing that we've always wanted to achieve before we die. Then what you need to do is then make that connection between these things you want to achieve now, as in this coming year, in the next 12 months, and that ultimate goal. Because then you know exactly what you're working towards, and it's something with meaning. Because if it doesn't have meaning, then that's when you can get easily sidetracked. When excuses can pop up, just like anything can become an excuse. You run into the smallest of obstacles and you're like, do I really need this? You know, when you have to wake up in the morning, if that's what it takes, or if you need to get out of the house and go for a run, whatever distance that you set, if it's a physical goal that you've a fitness goal that you set, or financial. So if you've set this goal and you actually, like, it's something that is meaningful to you, something tied to this, like that very inner desire that you always had as a child, because that is essentially what everybody else would refer to as your calling or your destiny or whatever. It's that one thing that gives meaning to your whole life, and the worst thing you can do is let it go. But so yeah, you want to have these goals tied to that destiny, let's call it that, right? And so then this goal has meaning. Achieving this goal brings you closer to that, and then the next year you set another goal that will get you even closer to that. And then this goal that you have in this 1 year, you can then break it down into the different months, and then eventually break it down into like what you need to do on a daily basis. Because essentially everything about achieving pretty much anything, it has to do with the habits that you build. People who want to lose weight, they, like, the most important thing that they get taught is to develop a new set of habits, because they got to where they are because of certain habits, whether it's how they eat or related to exercise or whatever. And the same thing is true for the financial aspects of your life, emotional things like relationships. If you start to look at the habits the things you do daily, or the things you think of daily. If you're able to make that connection between like your thoughts on a daily basis, and then your actions, and then where you are, which is the result, which is usually something that offends a lot of people when they are told about responsibility for their life. They feel like it's some sort of attack, when in fact it's actually, I think it's the greatest gift anyone can give you, because knowing that you're responsible for your life, or in fact, let me put it this way, the more responsibility you have over what happens in your life, the more freedom you have to take it in the direction that you want. So yeah, a question to ask yourself is, do you really want to give up that freedom and control of your life? I mean, who decides where your life should be going? And this is like putting all the religious stuff aside and everything, and coming down to like the cause and effect of your activities, things that happen every day. There's things that happen to you, and then there's things that you do, which is essentially like the situations you find yourself in, which is things you pretty much have no control over. And then there's how you respond. That's where the control is. And that is actually what determines the direction of your life. So the person you're going to meet tomorrow, or whatever it is that's going to happen tomorrow, it could have zero effect on the outcome of that day if you decide it has zero effect. That's how much power you have over your life. So yeah, with that power, my recommendation is that you now go sit down and really think about what you really want in life. Like what do you want? And then write it down somewhere. If you have a journal, write it down in the journal, or just a piece of paper, and find a journal where you can keep this list of things that are important to you, because then you'll know that you're not going to lose this list, and you can revisit it and remind yourself about why you are doing whatever it is that you're supposed to be doing. Or in case you start feeling like the tasks are too heavy, or you start asking yourself like, why am I even doing this anyway, then that list is there to remind you of like, this is why. So yeah, wish you all an amazing year, and let's hope that all of your goals are things that are actually meaningful to you. And the best of luck to everybody, and enjoy the celebrations. See you next year.